Hey guys, it's Gwynaire here from Defy Reality Entertainment, and today I'm going to be doing some more Blender work. This is a slightly different scene to what I've been working on from the last video. This is what I've been working on this morning, kind of piecing this little console lid together. So I'm actually using, I'm not going to get into too much detail at all about what is really going on here. It's mainly just focusing on the modelling and the reasons why I'm kind of doing things in terms of like the modelling and design choices and stuff like that, rather than giving too much away. So I'm actually using an asset that I created back in, I think it was August, September last year. I created this kind of pod, this box. And it's a console that the player comes across in another area of the game. So I'm actually using this as a template, because we're going to basically take all of this stuff out and I'm going to replace it with what this console needs. So it's a slightly different lid compared to the other one. I haven't actually got the other one on here unless, actually I'll give you a quick view into Visionaire and I'll show you what it looks like. This will do. So this console here, if I turn around, we actually have an OpenGL version, because at the moment I have like an animation there that's set. I'm not even too sure though if this animation will actually be in it, just for logistical kind of rendering reasons. It might just be that the lid opens straight away, because it will be a lot easier to create render the different states. So basically that's the inside, the fully rendered kind of version inside. So we're taking all of this out and we're going to replace it with something else, which also involves a paillita. A paillita is something that you'll use in the game, and I'm not saying any more than that. Actually, there's the paillita inventory. It looks a bit weird against that background, so I'm just going to turn around there. There you go. There's a paillita. Okay. So I need to create a little kind of a little plaque that will be at the top of this box, and it's going to be quite a simple little plaque. I've got the idea for it in if I can find it. Here we go. This is one of the Neyyah journals. One of the many Neyyah journals. This is actually book 6 of all my sketches and notes and all sorts. And this is not including all the stuff I'm doing on the computer, so I actually keep documentation on the computer as well. A quick inside look there. Another inside look there. There you go. So I have a few sketches to go by. And I don't want to give too much away there, so I'm just going to keep it out of your view for now. I'm sure a lot of this stuff will actually probably come into some kind of video, like making of video that I'd love to do after Neyyah's release. Possibly even like a book publication as well, like an illustrated book that shows the various concept art and the reasons behind things, and a load of compiled work. It would be amazing to do something like that. I'm not too sure if my camera's a bit tilty, but there you go. Should be all good. Okay. So we're creating a little plaque. I tend to go for like circles, especially for something like this kind of plaque that I'm going to be creating, that we're going to be creating. It's always cool to involve you guys when I'm modelling. It's like we're doing this together. You know, you're kind of on the journey with me more, which is quite cool. And what's exciting is, you know, you don't see everything, so not everything is kind of given away. You're not spoiled too much before the game is out. You know, a lot of work happens outside of these videos, which is why I don't do them all the time. I try and do one once a week, maybe once every 2 weeks, depending on what's happening. So I've actually got my UV map set here. We usually set this scene, the section of the Blender view, into render mode, but I don't really want to do that right now because it does slow the computer down as well. So I'm just going to go over here and start meshing this out. Just basically creating a net that then when I bring over here, I've got the UV map for the texture, where the texture will sit on the object. So for some reason it hasn't, not that it matters too much, but that's what's happening here. You won't really see too much of that anyway, so that's all good. Okay, so now I need to create an arch. You know, I could use a torus, but I like to just use mostly the models, the primitives. Basic shapes that I use are cubes and cylinders for pretty much all of Neyyah's modeling. And you know, it's just a case of how many you use to create one object, and you can't really tell. But it's just, you know, sometimes morphing them in different ways and making them look differently depending. Just gonna mix that down, take that out. So I'm just taking out a few of the faces here, and now we should have like almost like a weird polygon like ring. What I kind of want to do, I'm not too sure if this is going to work very well, but I just need to create like an arch of sorts. See how we go here. Doesn't have to be anything too fancy. I'm also going to fill those out potentially. Doesn't really matter too much because the player won't be seeing this from all angles, so it's just a very small little addition. I'm not too sure if this is going to work as well as I thought it would, but we'll see. I'm going to create kind of arch. Just using the X, Y and Z axis there just to sort of shape out things. I use them all the time when I'm modeling. And keyboard shortcuts are used all the time in Blender. Something you kind of just get used to. I used to find it very strange at first, I think, when I started working in Blender, because I used to use a software called Animator, and in Animator I can't recall using any hotkeys or shortcuts on the keyboard. So we just need a nice little arch. It's going to look a bit better as well when we add a subdivider modifier to this. I'm going to texture it too, but it's going to be very basic. There you go. And we can actually add our sub modifier here as well. That's all cool. And this needs to be, you know, something that the player will see to a point. That's good. I might even duplicate this, go into here, into here. I've duplicated our back plaque, and I have now created a little rim that we can use that goes around it just to make it stand out a bit more. I think that would look pretty cool. I'm just going to check. Yeah. So obviously in view mode, the subdividers, you know, when you subdivide things, you just view it with a few less polygons and it will actually look in the render view. You can actually heighten the amount as well in the render view, but I always stick to 2. That's just enough. I usually stick to 1 for view, so there. I've kind of gone to 2 just to double check how it will look when it's rendered. It looks pretty good. Cool. And this is where I'll probably start looking at setting this to render view, just to make sure. I'll also make it smooth as well, so actually smoothen everything as well as subdivide it. And we just have a little plaque there which we need. Okay, and I just want to going to add a couple of things here. That I think are necessary. Go. Awesome. We'll see how this looks. We just needed a couple of little things here to add to the plaque, to the symbol. Make sure they're in. None of these are textured yet, so. Okay, I'm going to go into texture view, preview, render preview, and see how everything looks. Just make sure I'm saved. Yep. Lovely. And here we go. Okay, we're back and we have our render preview here of our little plaque symbol, and if I pull out from the image here, we can see the console and we can see our new lid which says Fuel Ring Barrier Console, and we need something to make it sort of stand out a bit more. We could have it the same kind of colors here, but I'm probably just going to use what we kind of have already, so I might even look in here. I mean, it's just a case of kind of working with what you've got as well, because there are so many models already made for Neyyah. It's actually quite nice when you get to a certain point of design where you can actually copy and use what you've got already, because not only does that speed up the process, but it keeps everything cohesive as well. There's a good continuity through everything. So this is always a, you know, modeling now compared to what it used to be is a much kind of faster, a much faster process. Okay, here we go. It might slow down a bit depending. We'll see how we go. Sometimes the UV area here tends to like to slow down a bit, but we'll speed things up if we need to. Alrighty, what I'm going to do this one, I'm just going to bring this out a bit more, and I'm going to actually kind of want it to look a bit browner. I want a bit more of a browner look to the actual metal. I think it could be in a saturation, or it could be a color ramp that we can add to the actual texture. So here is my shaders. This is where I do all my various technical things for all the materials for the models. This is not, however, very technical what I'm doing here. It's just basically adding a bit of saturation to what we already have. I think the actual model is fairly... I'm actually going to go over here. Keep this view here. I'm actually going to use this material if it wants to work instead, because I think this will suit this model much better. This part, yeah, it's just a bit too dark. So we're gonna sound like I said. just a little too dark. Hey dark, hey, what's up dark? I'm just gonna make that a bit lighter. Dark, less dark. Okay, this way it stands out a bit. It's kind of an interesting blend of kind of having desaturation but still keeping grasp of colour. It's one of the big things about Neyyah is its coloration, and that's basically down to scaling everything tonally towards the grey spectrum. So basically, realistically, colours aren't mega vibrant, and when you do have colours that are really vibrant, it starts to look really unrealistic, in my opinion. When you start to kind of desaturate things, everything looks a bit more realistic, and I think it's kind of cool when you start to kind of work with that in various different ways, especially for like little models, even like this little plaque. It's making sure everything kind of works together. Yeah, that's pretty cool. There's a few things there I don't like about that particular texture, so I'm actually going to come back out and I'm going to use this texture here. I'm going to bring this one over. So I'm just taking kind of textures from the models and just repeating them, because Neyyah has such a wide variety of various different models anyway, and it doesn't really take much from the game at all. Actually, I might use this one. We need a bit of I want a clearer metal for this ring. Could go for the brown as well, depending. Oh wow, that's pretty good. Again, this is set to 1 at the moment, so if I set this to 2, we'll have a bit more of a curve now to our subdivider, so it looks nice and circular. And that's how it's going to look when we render an image. Okay, and for this bit here, I'm going to go for a much darker texture. So I'm going to go for something on the lines of must be this. We'll see. It's all down to experimentation. Sometimes it's the time-consuming thing. Sometimes it works really quickly. Sometimes it doesn't. But I just want to get this out of the way, really, this part, because there's a lot more I need to do, even with this console, and what I want to do by the end of the day as well. So just want to kind of get this part out of the way as quickly as possible, really. So I'll just create a UV map from this, bring that over to here. That'll do for the UV. We do need to create a slightly lighter texture. It's a bit too dark at the moment, so I'm going to bring up the curve from there. There you go. So I've got my RGB curves, which just basically I use now and again for my shaders, just to kind of work with a bit of like lighting in certain areas. I'm actually going to bring this up, keep them where they are. Yeah, and let's only take that. It's kind of knowing how, you know, I want it to merge well with the rest of this model, you see. So again, the UV thing over here being open really slows down Blender, especially in render preview like this, depending on how big the scene is. Because these are smaller things, I can get away with not using a subdivider at all, and I can come back out and just smoothen them over. Where are we? There we are. We're quite close in proximity to the model, so we start getting too close, they start to disappear. That's just a clipping thing. I mean, it can be sorted out, but I don't really need to sort of spend time doing that, to be honest. Okay. That's pretty cool. I'm going to shift these around a bit. I'm going to come out of the UV editor and just change this to a node editor for now, so we're running a bit quicker. Just want to space these out a bit more, just so they look a bit nicer. Just a bit nicer. too much. Bit of a perfectionist, as you might have gathered, when it comes to kind of modelling and art and how things look and how things should be presented. I am a bit of a perfectionist in that regard, but I have kind of learned to pull back and, you know, kind of just let things be as they will be, you know, and know when something's done, when something's pretty much ready to go, you know. I'm actually going to bring this down a bit more and bring the saturation down a bit more as well on this ring, outer ring, and make it stand out a bit less. Probably use a gamma. We'll use a bit of gamma on the outer ring there. Yeah. That's cool. What I'm going to do as well, so bring that up, bring that in. Bit of this off potentially, so let's see what that looks like. Cool. And I'm going to join these models together. It might be a bit of a complication here, but actually there's not much point in joining them together right now. Not that it matters too much, but I kind of want the symbol on this part to be kind of prominent in its own way. I kind of want the shape to stand out enough. I'm actually going to make this a bit lighter as well. So we'll see what we need there. It could be maybe just a gamma. There you go. Bring down the gamma on this one too, and just a bit less saturation there. Cool. The style changes make a big difference. Cool. Alright, I'm going to save this for now. I'm going to save it into another file, just so we've got another backup anyway. And we can revert to anything, any changes we've made. I'm just going to select all of this lid now, and I'm going to bring this, so make sure it's all selected, and I'm going to join all the objects together. Fingers crossed this works out quite nicely. Sometimes, depending on if I've used Alt D instead of Shift D to copy an object, if you join objects together with Alt D, because they share the same object data, you end up with all these objects being multiplied and going crazy. So it has happened before. So fingers crossed this works. So basically joining all of this lid together. So the reason being is so that when the player clicks on the lid, they can open it. It flips open. Okay, so we have our lid. Our lid has been solidified into life, and now I can bring my lid down, and we can actually set a point where the actual lid will flip for rotation, for actually moving up and being lifted up. Center of mass, so we need the origin to 3D cursor, which is right here. My 3D cursors are right click anywhere on the screen, and I've decided to put the 3D cursor right here in the middle on this kind of bar, where basically it's the hinge of the lid. And so when I go into transform, I go to origin to 3D cursor, it will now change. It's just going to load a bit longer because I've got the render preview going on at the same time. But now I'm setting my origin to 3D cursor. I should now be able to kind of rotate around anywhere at this point. Not that the lid's going to open this way, but it would be quite a shock if it did. So I can now flip it up, as you can see. So it goes up like that. That's pretty cool. That's sufficient enough. Also, it'll look really nice when it's proper rendered out and everything, and you can only keep up to certain frames with the render preview, but you can see it here kind of opening up slowly in the render preview. You know, the player's opening it up. Then again, like I said, due to states, it might just be like a click and the lid just opens up anyway, so that's all good. So what I'll do, I'm going to flip this up for now, and we're going to start modeling in here. So what I'm actually doing for this particular scene is I'm working on a revamp from the 2021 Fujitsu Island test build, which is showcased on YouTube. So there's a playthrough of me going through it and a commentary as well. So I'm actually revamping that entire scene, and so far it's going really well. I hope to have it finished potentially by most of it by the end of this week, which means it's a 2-week kind of project, and it's going really nicely so far. So it's going, yeah, really well, and it's just a case of basically taking everything that's in that scene and making it more Neyified, making it feel more like Neyyah is now, because that scene, that set, was originally made back in 2018. That's around the time I would have finished it. So I'm actually going to come out of the preview here because it's going to slow things down quite a bit. So it feels very dated. It might look cool, but for me it's very dated compared to what I've been doing so far with Neyyah. And I just think it would be great to make things more cohesive and, you know, have that really nice continuity. It's one of the key things with Neyyah, is keeping everything running smoothly. I've basically tidied it out a bit. I've also kept some of the elements here, these little pipes, because I think they're going to come in really useful. I'm going to make a dent in this main box asset here, because we need a nice dent running through, because we're going to add something that kind of goes into the box a bit more. So just going to add some more verts there. I'm going to cut out at least, let's say, this section here, just to be on the safe side, and even on here as well. I'm going to, first of all, I think we've got our model here. We've got Evlia, our 3D human sacrifice. He's the guy who basically makes sure that everything is scaled nicely in the game. So this is how tall the player will be. You know, on average, you know, sometimes he might be the camera will be set just a bit lower, sometimes a sort of more kind of higher height, but it's basically the camera is set around his head level. So if we go over here, I need to copy a couple of models from this console. This was oh, the ocean's been selected, I don't want to copy that. This console here was something I made fairly recently. Came out really nicely. I still need to actually finish off a bit here, but apart from that it's all good. So we need to take this, and I need to take this, because these are quite important. These plaques, you know, they tell the player what paillita to use basically within the game. It's a symbol. And the player will come across quite a few paillita consoles, different consoles that require a paillita. So that's all I'm saying. Just remember the name paillita. Paillita. So I'm just gonna cut that out. Bring it over here. Bring that over here. I think this is, you know, I haven't really designed essentially the new look of this console, but I've got an idea in my head. Sometimes when I model things I go by a sketch, which is a pretty poor sketch most of the time. It's a very quick sketch. And sometimes I'll just model. I'll just model in here and see how things go in Blender. So they usually change anyway. When I'm modeling in Blender, it will look different compared to how the actual sketch looked before. That's a pretty cool size. One thing I won't need, I'm gonna have to create the dent about there, so I'll keep that there for now. I am now going to create more of a dent for this little cup device to fit inside here. So I'm just going to cut out all of this. Cut out this as well, because that's the stuff at the back of this object, which pretty much doesn't need to be there really anyway, but that's cool. Take that out. And we probably don't need this part because it's a slightly different device to the other console. I'm bringing this in here. Maybe make it a bit smaller, potentially make the box a bit bigger. So we're scaling everything up a bit to size. You see, you know, the player zooms in on this anyway to get a nice close look. Kind of nice angle on there too. Okay, it needs to rotate a bit more. God, this is one of the first models I would have created for Neyyah. This cup. It was back in 2018. I kind of just use it. I could make it even better, but it's kind of just been used now as it is, so I kind of just stick with it. Okay. It's cool, you know, it's nice to use some of those old models that I've created. I think it was Jonathan Blow. He made the game The Witness, and there was an interview. I can't remember whereabouts it was, but it was on YouTube. And he said that, you know, he wouldn't be, I think on the lines of, he wouldn't be afraid to scrap work if it meant that it would make the project better, despite how much time had already gone into the work that was being scrapped. And I find that such a cool thing, and I relate to that so much because, yeah, you know, it's cool to spend a lot of time modeling things, but it's irrelevant compared to the result, the actual reason you're doing it. And you might want to keep something just because, oh yeah, but we haven't got time to redo that. It looks really naff now, but we got to keep it in. We just got to keep it in because it took so long to make that. Well, yeah, but really? I think, you know, if you need to revamp something, and because that will actually make the project better, or it feels right to you as the developer, the process of that feels right, because that's the key thing, process over outcome, then it should be done. I think it should be done. I think that's the problem with like a lot of these budget based games and stuff, is that you kind of get caught up in the idea of like what, you know, the money involved in a project, and then that just obscures the creativity and drowns it out. It's such a shame. But hey ho, that's the way of the world, the way of the business. I have found ways to speed things up because I do understand that this game has to ship one day. It has to be released. And so you can't just keep going over and over and over again on something, but I think it's because I've been able to find out ways to make things a lot faster for myself and speed up the processes a lot more, that, you know, it's something I feel like I can afford to do, you know. Nah, that's pretty cool. This is just like a little rim, by the way. I'm not too sure how it will look entirely for this part, but this is kind of like a little rim for the little device here, the paillita device. And I think maybe it could be sort of just like it can curl round here, turn it round, turn it round, turn it round, turn it round. There you go. Cool. Yeah, I'm just going to bring it up a bit more in this section. Lovely. Cool, cool. Don't mind that. We're going to have something similar like this design going on over here, and I think what we're going to use is the texture of this pipe for this rim, because I think it's going to be really cool actually. And I think incorporating some of that maybe even into this design somehow. Solo it out. Okay, so what I'm doing now is just making sure everything's set for the subdivider. Bringing all the verts together. Making sure that we have like a almost like beveled effect to the edges. This is all laid out. Okie dokie. Going to our subdivider. Going to smooth. Lovely jubbly. Okay, don't know how that looks yet because we haven't tested it, so I'm just going to leave that for now. You know, the key thing is making sure that first of all the lid is actually going to look good. The actual lid moves forward a bit. Not that it matters too much because it's not even going to be animated potentially. So I just need to make sure really that this lid closes and doesn't expose any of that. Yeah, it does a bit. See there? The actual. I'll bring that out forward anyway. Might be alright. Maybe we just bring this forward. We might be okay. I think we're going to be safe. Yes, we're safe from the paillita cup coming out of the case. That's great. Cool. Okie dokie. So I can flip this back up. And we're good there. So that'll be fine. The paillita will go in here. So I will actually bring this forward, back into the console just a bit more, because when that paillita goes in, it's going to fill up even more. And I can do a test. I can actually do a test just to kind of put my mind at ease, I suppose. It will fill up in here, about that size potentially, and then we'll have our lid closed. We're fine. Perfect. Yeah, that's great. That's great. Got some cool ideas actually for this. I'm going to run some cables. I'm going to hang some cables out of this. See, this is when the ideas just come in. Like, I had no idea I was about to do this, but just bringing that pay to cut device into the console a bit more just made me think, okay, well, there's obviously stuff going on inside. Well, let's expose some of the circuitry that's going on in here. What's, you know, it's kind of cool to see what's going on the outside, but it's like what's going on the inside of these devices. That's why I love to kind of show the player a bit more. And I don't even know really what's going on inside these weird contraptions, but they were made for a particular reason, and so it's cool to kind of show a bit more of that reason, of the work that's gone into these devices, the engineering. Good old coffee. Had some fish and chips today with Nan. She loves her fish and chips. It was very nice. Gonna be stuffed for a while, I think. Yeah, it's cool. Let's make it a bit smaller. Not too big. Okay, just gonna make another couple of cables. I'm not gonna texture them just yet. I'm just gonna run with them first, see how I go. Get the sizes right, the looks right, how much to expose, how much not to expose, which ones to even maybe take away as well. There you go, move that over there. Going to give my voice a bit of a rest as well. I'm not used to talking so much when I'm modelling. This feels a bit strange, so it kind of obscures my focus a bit. Now and again I will mention what I'm doing, obviously. So, but I believe you've got some lovely music there to listen to by Michael Cox, I believe. God, I'm so bad with names. His music's been on a few of my recent devlogs, and he's an amazing musician. So definitely check his website out. It's linked with the video. Cool. That's pretty cool. There's a bit of a kind of weird thing going on here. I think it's just the bottom of this device. To bring those cables down a bit now, make a bit more sense. That's better. Depending on the light, what is actually lit up behind this device, it's not going to be much to see behind this Paita cup. But I'm going to add little pipes around it. So if anything is exposed, the player can see it. Again, this is just kind of like working on the details of the actual model. You know, it's not just, you know, a lever and a box with a cool metal texture on it. It's more like, hey, you know, there's other things going on. There's pipes, there's cables, there's other machinery going on inside to make this thing work. Yeah, that looks cool, I like that. Nice! And I'll texture these little cables. I might add a couple more, depending. For now, I actually want to work on this side quickly as well. I need to create a plaque for this as well. I believe, if I save this, this is blue. Yeah. Okie dokie. This one needs to be red, basically. So that will require a bit of Photoshop work. I want to bring this device over here. I want to change this around. So I thought I'd just get this video up here. This is the Felicio Island walkway test build from the 21st of May, coming up to a year ago when I released this. This is the area that I'll be revamping, or I'm currently revamping. And so basically you can actually see the Paita being used. That's the old model, the Paita. So what I'm creating now is this. This is what I'm recreating. And this is the console I'm recreating. And this is what I'm going to be recreating now. So I'm going to be recreating that onto here. This is going to just look a lot nicer. It's going to work so much. It's just the mechanics of it. Everything's just going to look so much more natural and a lot more like it makes sense as a console. I mean, these models here, even the texturing, there are so many things. This was actually a revamp of another scene, like an earlier version, because I upgraded textures with overlays and had scratch marks and stuff and things that could make things like even more weathered. It was fantastic. But the actual assets themselves are very old in their design, like this kind of cylindrical kind of box here that's made out of planks of wood. Yeah, just certain things that just don't resonate with me anymore, and so it's about time that this particular scene and a couple of other scenes in the game actually have a good revamp. And thank God I can actually do them fairly fast, because there's other areas of Neyyah that need modelling as well, so there's a lot to do in this game. Yeah, I'm going to set the subdivider there. Set this smooth. We need 4 columns. Now we're going for more of a kind of elongated look. We've got more of a box look here. So we need to create sliders. So sliders going down, sliders going across potentially. If we make that a bit wider, it'll make it a bit easier to probably add form in there. Let's bring that across like here, and bring that up here. Just filling it out a bit more. And we can create the same texture that we're using here in the background. Let's bring that over. I don't know if I've actually UV unwrapped this yet, so I'll just quickly do that. Boxes are the best thing, cylinders are the best thing to UV unwrap. It's very easy to do, and depending on the actual perspective of the model that's being designed, you know, you don't have to worry too much about what the actual how the texture is actually being unwrapped. What I tend to do though is that, you know, the rest of the model is taking space up, the rest of the UV map I'll actually go into the front, bring that up, make sure everything's kind of selected on the front, and then bring that up, even though we haven't got it open right now, but I can do that quickly. We'll see that it's actually now filling the entire screen. I'll actually show you a cool example of that. So I'm actually rendering things on this computer still at the moment. It's actually rendering I think it's a 300, what is it? 360? 370 frame animation. So that's doing it quite nicely. It's going very nicely. It's mostly been running overnight, but I'm actually running it through day and night at the moment. So, whilst rendering another scene in the background, which I believe is still loading. So that's pretty good. It's a busy time here at Defy Reality Entertainment every day. Getting this game out there, day and night. Although I try for earlier nights these days, just because I kind of work better when I wake up early in the morning. Okay, that's pretty cool. Don't know about the texture, but we'll go with that for now. Yeah, so that's that's an example there of kind of just making sure that what is in front of the player is the best wrap, the best look of the texture. I'm going to keep these little circles here for now. I might even move, bring them out a bit more and duplicate them to this side. Flip them around, bring them over here, just so that we have kind of little cables or something coming out that connect to this console inside, and maybe a couple more down the bottom potentially, maybe just one. You don't want things to repeat too much, so maybe just one cable at the bottom here that's a bit bigger than the others. Come out like that, maybe a bit more. Make sure that this is actually its own model, so I've actually duplicated it, and now it's got its own model data, which means that if I change the geometry of this model, it's not going to change the other ones. Or it shouldn't do anyway. Have been wrong in the past. There you go. My microphone stand, this little microphone I use here, is actually in the way of that model a bit, so I'm kind of like looking past it. Okay, that's cool. Four columns. 1, 2, 3, 4. Perfect. Not bad at all. We have a bit of a problem here on this side, but let's see what I can do. Maybe one, two, maybe 1, 2, 3. Maybe not. 1, 2, 3. Okay, that's cool. That's pretty decent. I'm actually going to just get rid of those. And we're going to work with this. So I'm actually going to cut out this bit, I believe. So we've got more equal kind of layers. I'm going to bring this out a bit more here. Kind of deletes everything around the area, so that's pretty cool. So it looks like a bit of a radiator right now, which is cool. Radiators are cool. The gaps are pretty equal right now. I don't want to close this one up too much, so I'm actually going to select. That kind of makes it so that I can see the verts on the other side of this model here, so I can actually look through it, which is great, and select them all and bring them over here. So get more of a gap. And at the same time, I'm going to go back into our vert selection and bring this over here, and then I'm going to bring this one don't want that selected. Yeah, that's cool. Okie dokie. And now I'm going to go into here and create a separate model for this part. I'm actually going to randomly select this model here and just apply this model and that shader onto this model. I don't know how it's going to look, but we'll see. I'm actually going to save this as separate file. Okay, cool. And across, I think our UV map is making things sluggish again. It's always fun when that happens. Yeah. Okay, so this for now. Goodbye, UV map editor. Hello, extra node editor. Not that we need you, but we kind of need you so the computer doesn't jam up on us. Bring that down. Bring that down here. This is actually great because this is giving me the ideas of what can be going on behind the scenes, right, with these cables. We need plaques as well, so bring that way up, bring this way down. What's going on behind the scenes with this console? It's a good question. I don't know myself, but we are going to find out when this is all finished and modelled. For now, I might just move that over here. That's cool. That's cool. I'm going to create little slider markers, temporary little slider markers that are going to be in here. UV unwrap them quickly as well. Down, some across, and a bit longer. Bring them out. Nice. Okay. Just gonna UV unwrap this. Make sure we're all set for the subdivider. Oh, that's a mesh view, by the way, wireframe. Here's Neyyah. There's a wireframe model. Solid state model. Looks like the dude out of TU2, the liquid metal dude. Okay, we're going to bring in that subdivider under here. I'm going to copy this mesh from its path. Really quickly apply that to here. Okay, make sure we've got the right texture. Should be right. I'll see how this goes. Okay, so now this is really weird and trippy right now. I need to start texturing this. I'm going to see how this looks. Yeah, we need to UV wrap it a bit better. Just want to be kind of like a mesh in the background. Well, we haven't seen what it looks like right at the back yet, so we'll just put that there for now. And I want to start looking at these because I think they need to widen out a bit more. They're a bit thin. That's cool. 1, 2, 3, 4. We have something here that's going on. Something here that will be going on too. That's it. Okay, we'll keep it to that for now. That's looking cool. I'm happy with that. I need to create little triangles now. No references. These ones are a bit different. Coming along with this very nicely. Just want these little lights to be added above the flippers, the switches, the sliders, whatever you want to call them. Come out of that. And over here, and I believe actually I need to come back into that. Go back to my tools. I need to mirror that. Yes. I'm curious about one thing. And this is sometimes a thing where I need to double check certain things myself, just to make sure that the elements of the game make sense. I believe I've got the book that I need right here. The second Neyyah book, which had its first date of the 9th of the 12th 2018. Even got some notes here on the different notes I can use when I'm composing music for the game. So that's from like a demo. Okay. So you double check this. This one needs to be this way. I feel like sometimes I'm solving my own puzzles. Yep. Alrighty. That's looking cool. Got little sliders here. I can narrow these down a bit. For now I'm actually going to box these and create UV, not UV, subdivided models of the sliders. That's good. Make them a bit thicker. Not too thick. And then bring that over here. Bring that over there. Look at the design of these a bit more. Nope, my bad. Cool. Nice. Lovely. Don't know what texture I'm going to be using for that yet, but I'm also going to make sure these are coming out just a bit more. Not enough so that the door knocks onto them, so maybe just keep them where they are actually. That'll be fine with the smooth. And I'm just going to duplicate these. Fantastic. Alright, so I'm just going to speed things up a bit. I'm going to do some extra cables, some extra pipes. I'm going to probably texture the console that you see on the left there, so when you come back you'll see things a step further. So I'm going to speed things up a bit for you guys. Stay tuned. Okay guys, so here we are with the new console. Still got a couple of things I want to add just on the side, but I've basically made it so that the sliders are now set in place. I've got like a light behind the sliders as well. And I've got these lights here for the triangles. These ones are slightly darker for some reason than these ones, and I think I know why, potentially. If I bring these forward a bit more, I think we'll have a bit more luck there. So they're kind of like transparent, you can see some of the metal coming out, which is quite nice. Might create little borders for them potentially, but I'll see how I go. I'm quite happy with those. Got some more cables coming out of where the actual pieta can be put in, and I also need to revamp the plaque as well to fit what pieta needs to be inserted here. So yeah, it's going really nicely. It's coming along really well. I've pretty much nearly finished this area, this console thing now as well. The sliders, they look pretty cool. So it'll come down as well. And I think they do a pretty good job for what they need to portray. Awesome. Cool. And I just sort of slide back up. There might be animations of these coming up and down, but so far in the actual test build I just had them kind of changing image. So we'll see how we go with that. The actual console itself, is fairly kind of small in a way on screen. So when you do activate the little sliders, it's a very small area of the entire screen. The idea here is to have a really nice close-up view. So when you do activate these, the hotspots are going to be much easier to interact with. So it should go quite nicely. So yeah, come along really well. Thanks for watching, guys. It's been really cool doing this little video. Revamping an old area of Neyyah. It's really fun. It's going really nicely. I'm going to go for a jog walk now. I've been getting into jogging fairly recently, so it's going really nicely. Really nice break away from the game as well, and coming back and feeling like, you know, ready to go again. It's really awesome. And hey, at some point maybe it'll be cool to like do kind of like dev diaries of kind of like what I do throughout the day, what my kind of dev cycle is from beginning of the day to the end of the day, as a full-time game developer as well. So I think that'd be really cool to maybe kind of get into those at some point. And yeah, thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, comment, and if you want to stay tuned for more devlogs coming down the track. There's going to be many more, many more, delving into Blender, delving into Photoshop, delving into Visionaire Studio 5, and eventually sound and music production as well. So stay tuned. Wish this Neyyah to be there when it finally releases, and to enter the portal and begin the adventure. Can't wait to share this game with you guys. Like, subscribe, wish us Neyyah, comment, and I'll see you on the next devlog. Bye!